Hi everybody. The topic for this video is how to balance thoughts and feelings related to wanting to run away from situations that feel out of control that can also be known as a tendency to ghost others. These may include situations at work, being a parent for young children, being a caregiver for people in your family, your parents, your grandparents, your siblings. Maybe situations related to worry about money or pressure at school, or just a general feeling that you are so responsible for other people in your life. And so, as a result of this stress, you may dream about disappearing in the middle of the night, never to come back, or just ending a relationship with somebody with absolutely no explanation. So why does this happen? Why do people feel this way? Well, in a lot of cases, running away or ghosting someone else happens because a person has emotions that they haven't learned how to work through or deal with. Maybe in a lifetime or during a lifetime, there's been this lack of experience related to conflict or resolving disagreements with people, or just plain old, I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm going to avoid it. On the other hand, maybe there was a loss that somebody experienced that they never really worked through, and now this loss or this wound or memory or whatever it is plays a daily part in a person's life, and so it makes them hesitate to do things or makes them avoid certain circumstances or activities. Now, honestly, I am no psychologist. I'm Pamela D Wilson. I am a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. What I do have is a lot of experience, almost 25 years of experience, with caregivers who feel that they are in no-win situations. And I've worked with these caregivers to turn them around so that they don't run away or they don't end a relationship with someone else that they may want to have years from now. And so how do we do this? We talk about acknowledging a part in a situation that has been created. We all do this in our lives. And I, like many of you watching this video, have learned how to deal with and work through very difficult life situations without running away, but instead by thinking about the experience and working through the experience and learning from it and coming out better on the other side. So, if this is your first time here, I'm Pamela D Wilson. Below this video, there are links. You can learn more about me, my personal experience, my professional career in health and aging. I do ask you, please like this video, follow my channel, and comment, even if it's only to say thank you for the video. Your participation here helps other people all over the world find their way to these videos, to my website, to my education programs, and to my support group. So, running away or ghosting people can actually become a lifelong pattern that repeats and repeats and repeats in a person's life until an opportunity arises to learn coping skills or how to deal with stress, how to manage anxiety, how to work through situations step by step by step, so that behaviors that don't really add to your life don't continue to repeat. We are all the director of our lives and our experiences. No matter how much we may like to think that our lives are controlled by other people, by outside circumstances, that is true only in part. much of the control that we have is right up here. We can all make excuses for running away from a situation. I hear people say, oh, it's too hard for me. I don't want to do this. I'm too old. I can't do this anymore. Well, you're never too old to learn. And these are real feelings that caregivers can have, but they're also real feelings that can be worked through by, especially in caregiving, developing what I call a transition plan, especially if the situation you are in is holding you back from doing things in your life, or it's causing you health problems, or it's causing you problems at work or in your family life or with your children. Nothing ever has to make you feel like you are stuck or that you should run away. There's always a way to work through it. Now, other reasons that people run or ghost people is that they say, well, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, so it would be better if I just don't say anything and I just disappear. Well, that may be good for the person who's running away, but then you leave all these people over here who are like, why did they run away? What happened? Did I do something? They never said they were upset with me. So you're actually causing this chain reaction of events that starts with you leaving or running away without offering any type of information or explanation. Now, the reality in life is that not everybody gets along, and people may not have enough in common to want to build or maintain or sustain a relationship over the long run. And it's perfectly okay to admit this. It's something simple like you say, hey, you know what? You are an amazing person. We just met at the wrong time. I'm not, a good partner right now, or I wouldn't be a good friend right now because I have all this other crazy stuff going on in my life. Or you could say, wow, you're a great person. I have so much going on in my life right now that honestly, I don't have time to commit to a friendship or other activities. Can I get back to you in 3 or 6 months' time? And then, though, you do what you say and you get back to them. By doing this, you can keep the door open for some pretty amazing relationships and some amazing friendships that could happen. Whereas if you close that door, you run away, you may leave behind that opportunity. And when we think about our lives, honestly, how many people have you dated that weren't right for you? And vice versa, you are not right for them. But you didn't realize this at the time, you realized it after the fact. How many times did you, or do you, if you are applying for a job, do you apply and you interview and you're not hired? Because it just wasn't the right fit. How many friends do you have today that you were friends with in your childhood that you still are friends with because over the years you've worked and you've stayed in touch with people and you've maintained those relationships? It's true. People's needs and interests change over time, as do all of the, what I call outside demands of life. Your job, your family, your parents, you're a caregiver, you're a husband, you're a wife, you're a whatever you are in your job role. Things continually change. And honestly, it does take a commitment to hang in there for the long run, whether it's a job, a personal relationship, or a caregiving situation. So, what's the best way to start out? A great way to start out in a caregiving situation is what I call early expectation setting and transparency. You would be amazed if you do this, how you can avoid a lot of anxiety and conflict and disagreements. But part of the challenge is caregivers don't know to do this, and so these conversations don't happen in the early stages. Sometimes they only happen later after there's a problem and the caregiver's tired and burned out and wants to leave. So if you think of a caregiving relationship kind of like a job, because it is a job for the caregiver, right? And the person you take care of, your parent, spouse, or whatever, It's kind of like your boss. So think of it that way just for a minute. So, for example, on the parent side, parent would say to you, you know what, son or daughter, I expect you to take care of me. I'm not going to pay you. I expect your time to be free. And by the way, I expect you to give me 5 to 10 to 20 hours a week, every week, week in and week out, and then more time when I need it. And if this negatively affects your wishes or your dreams or your career or your health or your family life, you know what? I don't really care. Honestly, who would agree to this type of relationship or this type of engagement? Not many people. Which is why caregivers find themselves in these situations where they're like, oh my God, how did I get here? Did I agree to this? I don't think I agreed to this. Well, there was nobody else to do it, so I just did it. How does this happen? It's because caregivers lack the knowledge of the importance of setting boundaries and having conversations early and ongoing. So then you become this caregiver who just wants to run away because you're in an impossible one-sided situation. So your parent has the conversation with you. You're on the other side. You're like, gosh, mom or dad, I hear what you're saying, but I disagree. I hear your expectations. Here's what I can do. Here's what I will do. I will help you 5 hours a week. Any more than that, we need to look at other options for other people to help out. Whether they are people in the family or my brothers or my sisters, or whether you pay for outside help, outside caregivers, or maybe you move to a care community. Oh, mom or dad, you don't have money to pay? Well, then we need to look at some other options now. We need to look at state Medicaid programs or some other way for you to get the assistance that you need. Because again, remember, I'm 5 hours a week. 5 hours a week. That's all I can give you. That is all I will give you. In this way, even though your parents might not like what you're saying, you are dealing with the problems and potential conflicts from the beginning, right out of the gate, before you get to the point where you want to run away. Because when you let these little small issues go, they become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger problems. And sometimes you as the caregiver, you don't want to ask those hard questions because you may not want to hear the answer. You may not want to hear that your mom and dad do expect you to do this. And they don't care what happens with the rest of your life. They just want you here and now, doing what they want as much as they want. Or maybe you bring it up and your parents don't want to plan. Well, then you're thinking, well, heck, this falls on me. No, it doesn't. Not if you have these conversations. Or maybe there may be denial by other people in your family who are like, oh, we'll just let it go. We'll deal with it when it gets really bad. And then, of course, they don't show up and it's all on you. So these problems can happen if you do not have the experience to know what you're supposed to talk about. Or if you lack the skills just to deal with disagreements that you are worried about that are going to just like blow up and become these huge mountains, and you're thinking they're big deals, and so you're becoming more anxious and agitated about the situation. I can tell you that problem solving and communicating with parents about these caregiving boundaries, anybody can learn this. It's not rocket science. If you want to have this sense of freedom that people who want to run away desire, take the responsibility for the situation that you created, especially if you started helping out and the hours are stacking up and you never said, whoa, can't do this, 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, we need other help. Stop it now, press the pause button, hold yourself accountable for your actions. So let's compare a caregiving situation to another situation, which would be a job interview. And this is kind of where maybe, you've heard things, but you didn't pay attention to them, and people are like, oh gosh, you should care for your parents, or it's your responsibility, or whatever. So person doing the interview is really honest with you about the job. Huge learning opportunity, but it's going to be hard. It's like doing all these things you've never done before, like they say drinking through a fire hose, right? It's going to be overwhelming for 3 or 6 or 12 months, depending on how quickly you adapt and how quickly you cope. But then it's going to be great. And you knew all of this. You heard this, right? You heard this up here. You knew what this job was going to be like. And then you accept the job. And you're there for a month and you're thinking, whoa, this is way more than I thought. I heard them say this, but I didn't believe it. And so your first thought is, I'm going to run, I'm going to resign. Well, my question to you in that job situation, or in a situation with your parents where something changes overnight and you want to run, is, where is your commitment to resolve it in a positive manner by talking about what's going on and what's changed and your feelings? And where is your interest in this being a learning opportunity, being an opportunity for personal growth, to learn some things from this, and to take the situation seriously? So when you think of work, right, look at your work life. How many times have you changed jobs? The first 3 months for any new job, they are the most challenging. You've got people to meet, you have systems to learn, you got to learn your job. And so in most cases, if people can stay 90 days, they're probably going to make it. So if you can look at your caregiving situation, or any situation where you're thinking, oh, I got to run, I got to bolt, unless it's, this is separate from abusive situations or traumatic situations or something like that. Just a difficult situation that you're trying to work through, right? That you're not sure how to work through. Give yourself a commitment period. Give yourself 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. Let's say you've been taking care of mom. Overnight this change happened. You're thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. But you know what? I'm going to put a 90-day plan together. And I'm going to stay involved and see how it goes. But I'm also going to look at other options. So if I get to the end of the 90 days and it's still not perfect, I have a plan for mom and dad. So making this type of personal commitment can benefit you so many ways in the long run. And so to contrast this, I want to talk about what happens to runners that makes these situations difficult. And then I'll talk about solutions. So how do you work through this? People who run from their emotions and their problems instead of learning to work through them, a lot of times have lives that are just complicated, right? There's always something going on. There's always drama. Do you know any of these people? You may be this person. The challenge is that running away or avoiding problems hurts the runner in the long run. And this actually can be your elderly parents in a care situation. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about their health. They don't want to plan for what happens 6 months or 9 months from now. Who gets hurt? They get hurt because they didn't want to plan and they didn't want to talk about it. People who avoid situations or who run from conflict or who don't want to admit their contribution to a situation can have lower confidence levels. They can lose their confidence in themselves and their confidence to do things, and their self-esteem can just plummet, right? Because they continually don't work through situations to gain confidence to know that they can work through situations. So what happens is they're just like, I can't deal with this. And then it goes bad. And something else happens. And it's like, I can't deal with that. And that one goes bad. And then their life is a mess. And then they're afraid of everything and they're more anxious. Well, running away, avoiding situations, avoiding conflict can make a person more afraid of any type of challenge that comes up. So rather than something happening and you're like, hey, I've done this before, I know how to deal with that, or, I've done 50% of it, I'm pretty sure I can work it out. Their reaction is, oh my God, this is horrible. I don't know what to do. I can't work this out. Let's just put it over here. Let's put it on the back burner until it blows up. And so what happens is you don't work to overcome these problems or fill a learning gap. So there's more fear and more anxiety in your life about problems happening and you not dealing with them. The more people run from problems, the more challenging life becomes. They end up forgetting that they were a confident person, they were reliable, they were trustworthy, they were strong. They're now just this weak person who is reacting to all of these things that's happening in their life, and they're not dealing with it. These runners may burn bridges with people in their life that they cannot rebuild. And honestly, they miss the opportunity to create their future and who they can become and who they will become and to have a good life. Runners can become like what I call a sinking ship. Less reliable, less trustworthy. Difficulty creating and maintaining relationships because when the going gets rough, what do? They run. They don't stay. They don't stay in for the long run. They don't stay in for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. They're gone. Running away teaches your brain up here that you can't handle uncomfortable situations, that you can't deal with conflict. You keep running. And then you find ways to isolate yourself. Well, I can't go out there. I don't want to be with people. They're not going to like me. These things are not going to work out. So then you become more anxious. And then you might pick up some bad habits like alcohol or substance abuse, or you watch TV all day, or you play video games all day. You do things to avoid thinking about these problems that you might have to deal with. And then you become afraid to meet new people because, well, that relationship didn't work out before. It's not going to work out now. Oh, that job was horrible. Not going to work out. So you don't try new things. You don't invest in new opportunities. Everything fails because runners don't stick around when the going gets tough. They don't work to overcome these learning gaps. The further you run away, the further you got to come back. So my advice is stick with it. Make a 30, a 60, or a 90-day plan. Figure out ways to reduce your anxiety, reduce your fears. Believe that you can work through this. Create your future. Create your destiny instead of being that runner who's going to look back at life with all these regrets. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have worked through it. I should have done this. So how do you stop running, avoiding, and not dealing with conflict? You'll learn new skills. You believe in your ability to learn new skills, and you commit. So the first way, because you're feeling anxious and afraid, is you have to learn how to deal with these feelings of fear. Because fear just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and anxiety turns into more anxiety and more stress. So first of all, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. They can deal with it. I'm not so good. Just end that. Then you have to find a replacement activity for the fearful thoughts and the anxiety. And only you can do that. We all have ways that we cope through things. Mine is exercise and going out in nature. I don't know what yours is. Maybe you're going to learn karate or learn judo or meditate or learn a foreign language or go volunteer somewhere or adopt a freeway and go pick up trash on the weekends. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Find a replacement activity for your fear and your anxiety that is positive. You have to get that under control. Immediately when you think a negative feeling, where do you go? Immediately when you're feeling anxious and you can't deal with stuff, where does your mind go? Have a place. The next thing you have to do is take responsibility for how you got here, for your part in the situation. Caregiving. You didn't set boundaries with mom or dad. You didn't say only 5 hours a week. You did 5, and then you did 10, and then you did 20, and now you're at their house all weekend, and it's too much. You have to admit that you did that. Then you have to practice and learn how to have conversations with your parents or the people that you are having this emotional distress with, right? So it goes like this. Mom or dad, I did it. I own it. I know I got myself in way over my head with this care situation. And I'm doing way too much. My health is bad. My husband or wife is upset with me. I'm ignoring my kids. My job's not so great. I have to work my way out of this. And I know that you may not like the idea that I'm now putting on the brakes when I've been driving at 120 doing everything, but this is where we are today. And I know this change may be hard for you, but I want you to know that I'm going to make a plan, a 30-day plan, a 60-day plan, a 90-day plan to work this out. And we're going to work through it together. Now, when you say this, you got to do the work to figure out the plan and to then present it to your parents and work through it. So, if you've never done this before, you don't know how to care for aging parents, you don't know what's going to happen, you need a plan, I have an answer for you. I'm not leaving you hanging. Below this video in the text section, there is a link to a step-by-step program in video format on my website that I created. There are 8 modules where I share all of the experiences I gained by managing care for older adults and persons with disabilities for over 20 years. So, I'm giving you an option if you need this information. Go below, click on the link to my Caring for Aging Parents program. You will find everything you need there. So, when you think about this, similar to your hesitation to tell your parents, I can't do this anymore, they may be angry with you, okay? Now they own their anger, you do not. What you own is your responsibility in having them believe that you would be around forever doing whatever they needed. If you can own that, you can go forward. They own their anger, you own your participation. Now, if you think about it, how would you feel if you were in their situation? You might feel angry too. And on the other hand, you may be angry with yourself for letting this go on so long without speaking up. All of that is now in the past. It's now over here. You're over here and you're moving forward. So, that first conversation of Mom and Dad, at a breaking point, got to change this. I'm going to come back to you with a plan. Stick to your timeline. Do the work. Go through my online program. And that conversation can then be the first of many conversations where you are going to learn how to communicate and present information with your parents rather than avoiding conflict or running away because these people may not like the information you have to present. Well, part of this is the way and the tone that you present it. Schedule time to talk to your parents. Don't just drop over and drop this huge bomb on them that's going to surprise them and make them anxious and fearful, right? Mom or Dad, I'm coming over this weekend. I have some more information to share with you on that plan that I mentioned so that we can keep going with this. And every time you talk to them, you keep mentioning that so they know what to expect. Additionally, do your best, be kind, be patient, but be firm. Mom and Dad, we have a timeline. This is the timeline. It's not optional. We're going to work through this. It's going to happen in this much time. And this gives both of us time to think about it and move through the next stages and do the best we can. Now, all you can do is choose how you respond. Your parents get to choose how they respond. They may be like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. You still offer your plan to them because remember, you are leaving, but you're not going to leave them without a plan. So they don't want to be involved, all of that. You keep going over, you keep presenting the information, you keep giving the timeline, and you keep saying, as of this date, I am finished. This is your plan that you can implement. Anybody can want to run away from a situation at any time. We've all been in crazy situations where we're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I have to deal with this, right? But when you work through one of these situations, you gain the confidence to work through the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. The reality is, none of us ever really get to run away if we want more control over our lives and more freedom to create the life we want and live the life of our dreams. We all have to work through the hard stuff. So throughout this process, be very patient with yourself as you move from that tendency of, oh, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Oh, it's going to be a hard conversation. I don't want to do this. I'm too old to do this. No, you're not. You can do it. Hang in there and do the work. You will be so proud of yourself when you come out on the other side of this problem with more confidence in your abilities and the ability to do and to be more. The same goes for your parents. Through this transition, they have the ability to look at it positively or negatively. They have the ability to do more and learn and do whatever they can to improve their life, that they have been shifting that responsibility over to you. It's now time that they take it back and to move on with their lives so that you can move on with yours. I thank you so much for being here. I am Pamela D Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. Again, more information about me, my professional life, my background, my website courses, my podcast, The Caring Generation, my caregiver support group, The Caregiving Trap. A lot of information is below. Please do like this video, follow my channel, share it, comment. Your participation helps other people find their way here. Have a fabulous day. I will see you all again soon in another video.